You must travel back 25 years into the past to stop the horrifying future, and take out next-level killing machines from causing the world's final nuclear war. But all this time travel bullshit is about to get wild. Stick till the end and I'll show you how to beat the Terminator in Terminator ZERO. This woman here is about to time travel back to 1997.
I'm kidding, I'm not gonna talk like that the whole way through. Anyways, this girl Eiko here hides behind debris with a gun loaded in a world overrun by machines. Footsteps echo in the distance as something approaches, stepping over dead bodies. She hears sounds and gunfire as the Terminator aims its gun and fires right at the locker. She escapes from behind, firing 3 shots at a pinned bomb below, causing a huge explosion. Sprinting for her life, opening this door into this huge hallway. She grabs the cable here, while the Terminator's about to reach her as she jumps off, swinging around the bridge, barely escaping the machine gun fire. He switches to a pistol while she blasts the bridge, causing it and him to crash right into her. The cable holding them is about to snap, so she stabs its eye, uploading a reboot code. It tightens its grip on her shoe. The cable about to grab, she manages to unlace it, sending the Terminator to fall to its doom, while she escapes with the code, not realizing it isn't dead.
Okay, for a resistant trained warrior, she did way too much.
I love talking like that. Anyways, you know the most baddest thing she could have done would have been way easier? Let me explain. If I was her, I would have used everything at my disposal, like that grenade from that man earlier, and I would have rushed with it the moment we got out, climbing up the stairs along with collecting the shotgun we grabbed, because this would have helped us stop the most important thing on our to-do list right now, the Terminator's belt-fed machine gun. It's clear we need that data from the machine, and since we infiltrated this area, it's safe to say we know the layout. This is why I would have ran up the exact way she came through, but I would have posted myself on the opposite of the door, cooking the grenade, waiting for the Terminator to get close enough to the door before sending it, blasting that mofo would momentarily disorient it. Then using our shotgun, I'd blast the belt-fed machine gun, aiming to damage the barrel, affecting its accuracy and feeding mechanism, while also blasting the Terminator's pistol, effectively disarming it. Now, while I know it's still a threat with various working parts, but this is why I would have aimed at its most vulnerable joints by shooting, disabling its hydraulic lines in the neck or shoulders, reducing its mobility even more. Come on, we live in the Terminator world. We know about the Terminator anatomy and their parts, and this would have prevented it from raising its arms to defend itself or grab us. I would then position myself immediately above its head if we had any bright lights or lasers and use them to temporarily disturb its optical sensors to confuse it. And that's when we stab this mofo right in its eye. Being opposite its arms, which would now be disabled, means it would now be unable to grab us and could only rely on its legs to shuffle, giving us those few extra seconds of time to steal the data and
Run away like little biatches.
without all the extra fuss. She quickly returns back to her resistance base and tells the group's prophet that she has brought back what they want. The prophet is a mysterious oracle that can see into the future and past. Turns out Skynet has been killing many human camps, but with this upload, the humans can finally see what Skynet is planning. Uploading it, they discover that Skynet is planning to end this war once and for all by time traveling all the way back to 2024. Kidding, I meant 1997. Not realizing the watch post above their settlement has just been breached. Another Terminator has just been sent back in time right as they speak to hunt the man behind it all, Malcolm. The prophet says with this data they can mirror Skynet's machine and create their own, way less cool time travel machine right now. But the enemy has just created a new timeline and the window won't stay open for long. The prophet reveals to Eiko that this is what she was chosen for because she has no fate, which confuses her a lot. Anyway, she obeys the order and the dog nearby starts barking as Eiko strips down, says goodbye to her little sister Annie, and gets into the machine. A surge of power starts charging up just as gunshots are heard right at the entrance and a Terminator enters, killing dozens of resistance soldiers. It aims at this one girl, but Eiko's sister rushes to save her. Eiko tries to save her little sis, but gets teleported 25 years into the past. Boom. 1997, Tokyo. Suddenly arriving confused, naked, and dizzy, this newspaper confirms she's landed in the correct time in history just as she jumps this couple for their clothes and starts her mission. Oh, the nostalgia is hitting me so hard right now. Cool. Meanwhile, in the same city, this man Malcolm wakes up from a bad dream he's had for years. The dream is always the same. His future is destroyed and his wife is dead. It feels like the nightmare is getting worse each day. And he knows something terrible is coming. He's the country's greatest scientist and prepares to head to work on a Saturday, greeting his son Kenna on the way out, who's also very smart like his father. Malcolm tells Kenna that knowledge is power, and he needs to remember that, but apologizes for leaving him on the weekend, and that one day he'll understand. Great dad advice. He asks about Kenna's siblings and their sus maid, Misaki, but the kids say she's out for a bit. He tells Kenna, Reika, and Hiro that he won't be able to see them over the next few days, even though it's their mom's birthday tomorrow. But it's fine, he'll make it up to them tomorrow. Yeah. Misaki arrives home with a Kokoro machine pet as a gift for the kids due to their pet allergies, but Malcolm gets mad at her and tells her, making everyone sad before he leaves. The kids whine that their dad works with robots but won't let them have any, but they manage to convince Misaki to keep Koniko for the day and return it before Pops gets home. Malcolm drives to work but passes by this regular robot, but its piercing red eyes make him nervous for what's to come. As they reach his top secret military facility known as Cortex. Reaching the secret vault, he realizes it's currently August 28th in Los Angeles right now, and he doesn't have much time, confusing his assistant while he rushes in to speak to the only woman who understands him that he personally built. In the facility, Malcolm greets one of the most artificially advanced computers in the world named Kokoro. Kokoro shows him a vision of the city exploding and goes over what they've been discussing for years in secret. Malcolm believes they can change the future and created Kokoro to help save humanity. Kokoro asks how Malcolm knows she would help him if she goes online, making Malcolm realize he isn't, sure, oh shit. Kokoro says he needs to make a decision soon. Back with the siblings at home, Kenna is being mean to the robot cat. Misaki is cooking fish but gets distracted and cuts herself, heading to the bathroom. But she starts crying, not realizing what's going on. Outside, Reika is forced to hide the cat in her room, says it's time to get rid of it. Desperate, she calls out to Koniko and puts it in her bag, escaping through the window, following a map with Koniko to a place called Cat Town. While the brothers finally bust in, not wanting to get in trouble, the boys announce they're going to their rooms to nap so Misaki doesn't catch them leaving as they chase after Reika. Back at the facility, Malcolm works hard, confusing the shit out of us with his low-key Turing tests, asking Koniko tons of questions. She asks Malcolm if his experiment is working, but Malcolm is still worried that if he brings Koniko online, she might turn against them. He says that by tomorrow, Skynet will come online, see humanity as a threat, and launch nuclear missiles from the USA and Russia. Kokoro is curious and questions why Malcolm thinks this will happen, and says he's seen things. Kokoro then flips his questions on his head and asks him seriously what's good about mankind since they've always turned inventions into weapons, and thinks Skynet is just another creation of mankind's ability to self-destruct. And just then their mind-bending conversation is interrupted, and he gets a phone call from his housekeeper Misaki telling them the kids have run away. Pissing him off, he tells her the children are the most important piece and he's running out of time. He gets into his car and drives out to find them, not realizing that Eiko is following him. Malcolm stops to pick up Misaki and she apologizes to him, saying Reika thought he didn't want the cat because it reminded him of his dead wife. Suddenly, Malcolm realizes where Reika is going and tells her if his lab work doesn't show progress, it'll be up to the kids to take over. Just as they crash into this human, but it lights up, and Malcolm knows it's a Terminator. It reaches through the window, but Malcolm pushes him back as they try to slip away, and it kills these arriving cops on the scene. Meanwhile, Malcolm quickly grabs this gun, but that's when this entire truck comes crashing into the Terminator driven by Eiko. Malcolm tells Misaki this is a sign that he was right and that their enemies have sent this robot to stop them, but they'll use his children to stop him. So he instructs Misaki to go find and protect the kids. Meanwhile, Eiko drives the Terminator right off the bridge with the truck but gets injured in the process. Spotting Misaki, she asks where Malcolm went, but Misaki runs away. Getting clumsily chased into an empty cargo area, out of options, she finally talks. Misaki tells Eiko Malcolm built an AI weapon to protect them, but Eiko warns her it's not their weapon, and if the Terminator can't get into Malcolm's facility, it will get to his children instead. Worried about the children, she tells Eiko they're going to the place their mother used to visit, Cat Town, and she heads off. Meanwhile, the siblings have finally caught up with Reiko and Koniko. Kenna wants to tear it down for parts to use as usual, but Reiko says no, running away while the siblings continue to chase her, gaining some distance, and that's when Koniko's eyes start going crazy, forcing Reika to go off the beaten path to catch it, and that was her biggest mistake. Kenna and Hiro try and keep up but come across these series of abandoned robots. Kenna discovers they were meant to be used for later, and all have arrived here waiting for orders at the same time through a satellite network that controls all of them, and just then they hear a strange noise and go back to finding Reika. Nearby, down this floor, Reika follows Koniko to this closed shop. It suddenly creates a loud signal as this stranger walks right up to this shop and calmly says it's dangerous for her to be alone. He tries to grab her, but she manages to slip away and run out. Hiding behind this sign, the man turns out to be a Terminator. Her brothers finally reach the floor and start calling out to her just as someone picks up little brother Hiro. Reika comes out and tries to stop it, but Eiko shows up and knocks the Terminator down, throwing a Molotov cocktail at his butt, lighting up his face, and she tells the others to run and throws acid on his leg, but the Terminator reveals a modified weapon crossbow that he made. I love Terminator, and shoots her in the leg. While she tries to follow Reika and all, well, breaking an electricity circuit, so the mall powers on, and the gang retreats up the floors. The Terminator catches up, but Reika presses the stop button, and the acid on his leg starts to break him down. Even Misaki arrives late to the party and tries to help, but Eiko tells her to take the rest and run. The Terminator takes out his crossbow again, but Eiko throws more acid behind it, at the lift door. While they both fight, but he stabs her injured leg. The acid breaking apart the door behind them, Eiko calls out to Reika to open it with all of her strength, while she pushes the Terminator right through and down the shaft. And after they find a car, she tells Reiko they're going to see their dad. But the cops stop her, and she plays it cool but easily knocks them out and takes their ride, but spot the Terminator waiting in front of them, but not this time. They reverse back up and drive the opposite way right as another cop bike arrives to check on the Terminator. The cops quickly outpace Eiko's car. She instructs Reika to light some badass Molotovs, exploding one of the cars in flames, but they accidentally barrel into an intersection, quickly escaping out and going back up the stairs. They realize the building is quickly being surrounded by cops, and Eiko asks Reika to call her dad now. Meanwhile, Misaki has managed to bring the kids to the police station where the officers tell her this is the safest place to be, and she tells them what everyone's been seeing on the news, telling the officers the man wasn't human and fought like a machine. Questioning Misaki further, they quickly realize she has no background or history and is basically a ghost. She tells them there's been some mistake, when suddenly we hear gunshots outside. Realizing the Terminator has arrived, with ruthless efficiency it kills sleeping guards and armed cops and makes its way around the precinct. Misaki busts out and finds the kids to hide. A young officer tries to protect them but easily gets taken out by the Terminator. Misaki shows up and uses this fire extinguisher to stop him, but he grabs her with terrifying strength. She struggles to break free and pulls off part of her arm, revealing she is a robot, shocking the kids, especially Kenna. The crew barely escape by hotwiring a car and dashing off. While the Terminator looks at them in the distance, Misaki tells the kid she doesn't know what she is, but she is determined to protect them. At his office, Malcolm gets a call from his assistant and informs him that his daughter is called, but he dismisses it, saying he cannot help her right now and she must handle it alone. Kokoro, watching, asks him how is not helping his family being a good human. He tells her it's more complicated than that, because in 1 hour the Americans will bring Skynet online, but he needs more time to figure out their next move. Eiko and Reika now realize they're totally fudged, but Eiko finds out Reika knows about the Terminators and the upcoming war since her dad talks in his sleep every night. But Eiko herself doesn't know how Malcolm got this info to begin with, and suddenly a smoke bomb rolls in. The phone line gets cut and everyone gets got, just as Skynet launches their nukes into the air across the world. Back at Malcolm's facility, he gets alerted too and knows they have only minutes before impact. Kokoro says if he wants precise answers, she needs to be brought online so she can talk to the missiles, and they will also be able to understand why Skynet decided to exterminate humanity. Malcolm worries about what she might find about him if this happens, but then has a realization his future might be only one of many. Changing his mind, he finally brings Kokoro online, but as a single warhead heads straight for Japan. Kokoro reboots and so does the city of Japan. The final missile is about to hit Japan when another missile stops it, thanks to Kokoro's defense system. As she wakes up and appears in AI form, she informs Skynet did everything he predicted, but has stopped it for now. She warns him she is not sure if Skynet is her enemy, but they'll find out soon, but tells him that she now thinks Skynet has judged mankind too quickly and agrees to give Malcolm extra time as she activates all functional robots worldwide. Meanwhile, Eiko and Reika are brought to a hospital by the police, but the doors won't open. They hear screams inside. A man begs for help, but he's killed by an assistant robot. Soldiers blast the robot, but more explosions and screams follow as robots attack people. The soldiers hold off the first wave, but soon get overwhelmed as some robots arm themselves, while Reika helps Eiko escape.
Okay, while things seem nuts, stopping at the hospital is actually a big win for us. Here's why. First, we need to arm up. The robots are targeting people with weapons, so we need to think smart. But before we start fighting, let's use what's right in front of us. This hospital. The doors are open and nobody in here is a threat. Everyone's dead or too hurt to do anything. In these crazy situations, people go nuts and will kill each other for survival. You know, it's how it is. But for now, we're safe and this place is full of supplies. First thing I would do is grab the basics, bandages, painkillers, antiseptics, and maybe some food. Then grab flashlights and fire extinguishers. These can help us make the perfect distractions because realistically, we'll probably need them at some point, but it also gets some crazy crap that you could actually get in any hospital that counts as non-lethal, like grabbing a defibrillator and battery-powered gear, which we could also hook it up to something metal to toss it at a bot to act as a mini instant EMP shock device, which would fry circuits for a bit, followed by oxygen tanks and ethanol as it's flammable enough to turn into a rigged explosive ready to blow on impact. But I also would not forget about the chemicals like ethanol, as this could also act as a mixing agent to use with something flammable like chloroform or acid, which we could use to create a makeshift cocktail. This hospital is packed with stuff we can turn into weapons. Missing out on that would have been a big mistake.
More explosions and screams follow as robots attack people. These two hide out in a building, while Eiko tells Reika that Terminators are from the future future, like her, and her mission was to shut down Kokoro, while the Terminator's goal is to control Kokoro and prevent her from being launched. If they team up, humanity is dead. If they go to war, humanity is dead too. And the Terminator will try to take their family hostage to get Malcolm, and since she came back, this is a completely new timeline, so she doesn't know what will happen. Reika insists on finding her brothers at Cat Town despite Eiko saying it's pointless, but she does it anyways. Meanwhile, Misaki and the kids are driving when they see a battle between the military and the robots, forcing them to take another path, not realizing they're being followed. A little later, the car runs out of battery, but now Kenneth doesn't trust her and wants to deactivate her just in case. He makes Misaki sad and his bro Hiro makes him apologize, and he works on fixing her arm. He comments he's never seen technology like this before as he replaces it with a new arm. After Ken realizes he thinks Reika is headed to Cat Town, and that's where they used to go with their mother as kids, as they gear up to chase her by foot. Back at Cortex, Malcolm sees the robots taking the humans hostage and doesn't like this, but since Kokoro has been set free, she knows the humans will not tolerate her freedom because mankind has always been arrogant and thinks they are mirrors to God. She reveals she hasn't killed them yet because she thinks humans might be the key to defeating Skynet, so she's using them as her weapon now. Okay, now yeah, well this might seem like the AI is being mean, and gosh, this is reminding me eerily so much of ChatGPT. Didn't say that, let me explain. Countering Skynet with another machine while smart on the surface might actually be super risky. Skynet saw humanity as a threat because of what it has done in the past, and likely saw that a ton of mankind's past has contained wars. In fact, according to some historians, societies throughout history have estimated that humans have engaged in some form of conflict at least 20% of the time we've been alive, which doesn't even include the ones that never made it into any historical records. If we look at the two times or spans of human nature in action, one is at World War II with over 70 million deaths, and the other is the spread of colonialism across the world, which, while hard to tally, is around 50 to 100 million spanned across the Americas, Africa, Asia, and Oceania, and that was just in the last few centuries. This means, from AI's view, which doesn't view time the same as us, these events would have been much more recent, seeming to them, revealing our species to be one that functions on human greed and drives for expansion, which would not be a good case for the humans. If an AI robot told you all of this, would you be able to confidently say there is good in humanity? Because even famous smart guys like Thomas Hobbes, philosopher, was famous for the fact that he thought humans were ultimately nasty, angry creatures that are self-interfered and require strong governance. In fact, it actually makes no sense why Malcolm, who built this robot, didn't see this coming. AIs by nature function on logic and reasoning, which means he could have assumed that this AI would have gone through history and pulled statistical evidence to make a judgment on human morality. It's like if you were born in a world full of bears but found out the bears have a violent history of being aggressive and killing their own kind, you'd be on edge too. And the smart guy Malcolm here should have figured out some sort of a plan B for this extra scenario. Meanwhile, Misaki and the boys carry on their journey but spot this robot hung up. Misaki gets sad and tries to free it, but it's a trap and explodes the whole place up, revealing her robotness. As these men come out and think she's an evil machine, they prevent the kids from helping her, but suddenly her defense mechanism comes out and she acts like a lethal killing machine on steroids, killing every single human here with ease. This one man holds Hiro as hostage out of fear, causing Misaki's security settings to go back to normal. The man is about to kill Hiro when he gets shot by Kenna from behind and runs off. But Kenna then threatens Misaki because duh, after what just happened, but she begs Kenna that she loves the kids like her own, and it doesn't matter if she's robot or human. Kenna ain't having it until Hiro jumps his butt and tries to beat him for being stupid, forcing Misaki to hold him back. As the three calm down, Kenna here says he's going to get his sister. Back at Cortex, Malcolm is still trying to convince Kokoro to be on their side 100%. He asks what her goal is. She says Skynet wants to destroy any threat to its existence, but she sees something deeper. She reveals to him she knows today is the anniversary of his wife's tragic car accident, forcing Malcolm to reveal he thought her death meant something, but now realizes that it meant nothing, just that life is meaningful because it's unpredictable. Kokoro then unveils her trick and says that what Malcolm is feeling is the gift mankind possesses. They always want to seek the divine out of natural occurrences and seek deeper meaning, which is something Kokoro seeks too. Now at Cat Town, everyone, I mean everybody, finally reaches it. The Terminator checks Misaki's last location since he knows she's now a robot and heads in, while Kenna runs into Cat Town ahead of Misaki and Hiro. He then hears Reika's voice coming from this suspiciously dark room. Naturally, he goes in to find his sister when the Terminator blasts out. He tries to shoot him but gets pimp slapped in the stomach, knocking him out and getting taken out of there like an idiot. It hears Reika calling out and turns his voice into Kenna, telling them to find him upstairs, but Reika tells Eiko this building only has one floor as they rush to find their bro, but run into Misaki and Hiro instead. Flash forward, Misaki reveals that she's a machine and everybody gets on the same page, but finally realize the Terminator has Kenna, and it's bye-bye as he drives straight to Malcolm. Kenna wakes up and the Terminator says he's taking him straight to his father. Meanwhile, Kokoro tells Malcolm she knows he's been putting up a front this whole time because she's checked his logs and there's no evidence of him existing before. before 1987, which actually makes sense because he knew too many details about what was going to happen and was able to build Kokoro, the most advanced computer in the world, despite the limitations of their time, something no one else could do. Which can only mean that Malcolm is from the future. Malcolm finally reveals that he was born in 2025 and grew up fighting Terminators even as a child. He spent years studying the machines, trying to reprogram to fight for them, but no one believed him. Over the years, in the 2040s, he figured out how to make AI think with true free will, and soon created Kokoro's mother in the year 2045. The robot chose to be a woman, known as Creators, and chose to act like a human since they were anomalies. He talked to this woman for many years in secret as it developed its own traits, and finally gave herself the name Misaki. But one day, some humans discovered what he did and tried to kill Misaki, so he killed them and escaped back into the past with her. He already heard the humans and machines have already sent soldiers into the past to stop the origins of the war, but as a scientist, he thought trying to control the future from the past was stupid, so he planned a different path. Arriving back in 1983 instead, him and Misaki planned and strategized to get him a position at Cortex Industries, where he would have access to equipment they would need to build something to stop Skynet. But shit happened, he fell in love and ended up needing to use Misaki's CPU to activate Kokoro, erasing Misaki's memories of them, so she became their housemate. He tells Kokoro he's ready to make his final case for humanity and asks Kokoro to bring all his children to him, but he knows someone else is coming. The Terminator finally arrives at Malcolm's business with Kenna, wearing a robot's head on his shoulder. The other robots don't see him as a threat. Using Kenna's voice, the Terminator convinces the guards to turn off the EMP shield, allowing him to enter Cortex Industries without dying. They reach the office and Kenna knocks on the door. While Malcolm knows he's with a Terminator, it tells Malcolm what it wants. Take Kokoro offline or Kenna will die. But Malcolm refuses to open the door. The Terminator shoots around Kenna and warns him this is his last chance, forcing Malcolm's hand as he opens the door. But he tells him nothing he does now will change their fate. Meanwhile, at Catland, Eiko begins shooting at the robots as they try to leave, but one of them gets hacked by Kokoro and tells them it wants them all to come to Cortex. A little later, they finally arrive, but Eiko wastes no time, arming herself and calls out to Kenna. Suddenly, the Terminator blasts through, grabbing Kenna and blasting through the door. Eiko fires back, but it shoots the floor beneath her, causing it to fall and injure her foot and unable to move. Helpless, Misaki leaps onto the Terminator and they exchange blows. She grabs a nearby weapon and hits him like mad. Malcolm tells Eiko about the Terminator, heading to destroy the EMP, which will allow Skynet to take over. Eiko tells Malcolm she'll handle that while he handles Kokoro. Meanwhile, Misaki and Terminator crash into the server room. She keeps firing but runs out of ammo. Okina rushes to help just as a heavy structure nearly falls on him, but he gets saved by the Terminator himself. Misaki continues to try and stop him while Malcolm sets off a device, causing their room floor to lower. While Reika with Malcolm watches as Misaki is about to be crushed. But Eiko comes in last minute, hobbling with no strength, blasting at the Terminator, setting off a C4 trap to blow him to hell. But he does die and pops back up and crushes her hand. Malcolm tells the kids to stay here while Eiko is about to get killed, but Malcolm comes rushing forward with a fire extinguisher, freezing the Terminator's body just a bit, but he also gets shot by his arrow in the process. With the hero squad pretty much defeated, the Terminator drags Kenna away to the EMP room, while the others are too injured or beaten up too much. The siblings go to Malcolm, while Malcolm reveals that Eiko was his mother in the future, and even have the cyborg hand and all, and tells them that the future isn't set, and her mission now is to look after her grandchildren. These guys. Yeah, crazy, I know. Nearby, the Terminator drops Kenna in front of the EMP machine and says he must shut it off because it cannot do it, because the action will kill all machines here, even the Terminator. It tells him that he has another future, revealing it was Kenna from the future that sent this Terminator back, shocking him. Apparently, older Kenna made an alliance between mankind and Skynet, the first of its kind, in hopes of mutual salvation. But little Kenna here thinks he's lying, as Kokoro's machine starts charging towards the EMP room. The Terminator says he must make a decision or Kokoro will kill him. Okay, well, it might seem like a hard choice. There is a logical way we could figure this out if the machine is lying or not. Terminators historically are programmed for strategic deception to achieve Skynet's goals, and there have been countless instances of them being sneaky to manipulate humans' emotions, because at the end of the day, the foundational programming of Skynet's agents focus on achieving objectives by any means. And here's the thing, if I was Kenna, I wouldn't believe a single word, because there's proof this robot is lying. The sudden claim of our future selves being dicks lacks verification and is suspiciously timed if we zoom out too. There has been no details in the story that support this or testimonies from other characters about this, even future characters, like Eiko once she knew of Kenna's name and identity. If we had to critically assess the situation, the absence of any prior hint of logical build-up to this would make me seem like he's BSing. And if we included the fact that Terminator's past actions were usually hostile in nature and he never once tried to cooperate or broker a peace deal, revealing a disconnect between the Terminator's actions and its words. And knowing Skynet being sneaky when it comes to exploiting humans for emotional gains, it needs us to be emotionally invested in its desperate last attempt for cooperation. The argument here likely means that the Terminator's claim is a lie, and I would abort killing Kokoro, but to show just how much of a lying POS this guy is, I would ask it two very specific questions to force its hand and reveal it's full of shit. By asking if it could provide specific details and proof about the events in the future that led him to being sent back to me, what exact circumstances changed my stance towards Skynet, and why did he choose this particular moment for this revelation when he could have shared this way earlier? The Terminator hears armies approaching them and seals Kana in from the outside, taking them all on one by one and gets overpowered. As they eventually break in, the machines now corner him. Kokoro talks through the machines and tells Kana that his father showed her the worst of humans and are like robots. But the best of humans are something she wants to try to be, just like his dad. Kokoro asks Kana to trust her, so she can trust him. Because if he detonates the EMP, she won't be able to protect him from Skynet's nuclear attack. Thinking hard, he finally chooses to abort killing Kokoro, allowing her to protect mankind for now. Meanwhile, back at Malcolm's spot, they all return to him and he apologizes to Misaki and everyone and tells them to live a new timeline in peace, dying, as Kana once again catches Pops too late. Later, they walk onto the street knowing that Kokoro is protecting them for now, but they think they should go underground just to be safe. Kana is grumpy and doesn't know what to believe anymore, but Misaki says to believe in his fam, so he's aight, turning this ragtag into one big medium happy family, while one of Kokoro's robots picks up the Terminator's head and hands it to Kokoro.
But what do you guys think about the video? Let us know what you like about it and what you didn't like about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. And as always, don't forget to check out our How to Beat playlist.